Caitlin Clark is being undermined by the 5 nasty players on the Indiana Fever. Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark had a huge bullseye on her back and the spotlight of the WNBA firmly on her shoulders going into her second season. Expectations were extremely high for 2025 following a record-breaking rookie season in which he led the league in assists and scored 19.4 points per game. However, the Indiana Fever have remained incredibly unreliable rather than taking off. In actuality, there are some significant weaknesses in this roster. And now, starting with the most harmful player at number 1, we're dissecting the 5 players who brought down the Caitlin Clark period. 5th place goes to Sydney Carlson. The strategy seemed straightforward when the Fever signed Sydney Carlson on February 5, 2025. Bring in an experienced player to help the younger guys and maintain order in the locker room. She is that seasoned voice on paper. However, she has been a ghost on the court. She is only averaging 2.5 points, 0.8 rebounds, and 2 assists in less than 11 minutes a game over the course of 28 games. She seldom ever appears in lineups during crunch time. At 35, her game has slowed to a crawl, and she appears timid when she does play. Her slow pace ruins momentum for a squad that is based on quick ball movement, quick cuts, and quickness. Guards that can shoot without hesitation, maintain a fast tempo, and make clutch plays are ideal for Clark. Carlson makes late passes that slow the attack, dribbles for too long, and hesitates on open shoots. Although she is a leader off the court, she is wasting game time that could be spent by young, active players who are eager to go. Brianna Turner is number 4. The circumstances surrounding Brianna Turner are even more annoying. It's not that she's performing poorly. Rather, it's because there were such high expectations for her. Turner, who was formerly a top defensive player and a former first-round choice, was noted for his tenacity, intensity, and ability to block shots. That player hasn't been seen this season. She is shooting just 20% from the field while putting up an incredible 0.4 points, 0.9 rebounds, and 0.2 assists a game in 14 games. Throughout the year, she has not played more than 60 minutes. Not only are those numbers poor, but they are also historically poor for a forward. Turner ought to own the glass, roll hard to the basket, and establish strong screens for Clark. Rather, she fails to take advantage of her stature, barely challenges defensively, and floats through possessions. She is clearly disengaged based on her body language, and she hardly ever communicates defensively. Turner's minutes have become a waste for a squad that wants to make the most of every second Caitlin is on the court. Kelsey Mitchell is number 3. Due to Kelsey Mitchell's track record as a scorer, this one is contentious. She has been the Fever's go-to bucket getter since joining the league in 2018. She scored more than 18 points a game the previous season. She is still averaging about 16.6 this year. The fit is the issue, not the numbers. Caitlin Clark is now the driving force behind the offensive. The squad should flow off her playmaking as the ball passes through her hands. Mitchell, meanwhile, continues to play as though she is the starting guard, over-dribbling, holding the ball for too long, and depending on isolated possessions to establish rhythm. The Fever's offense hums when Clark possesses the ball. The beat slows, the spacing gets smaller, and the flow stops as Mitchell takes over. The team is suffering considerably more than the box score indicates because of her unwillingness to change, which is causing a conflict of styles. Defenders are aware of the strategy. Make Mitchell take the difficult shots, sag off, and slow down the time. Although she is capable of hitting them, this squad rarely needs those shots. This collision of styles is the main issue. The fit between a once-in-a-generation creator and a ball-dominant striker is just not working. The ball doesn't make Mitchell happy. She's still below average defensively, and she's not the catch-and-run threat you want next to Clark. Clark is forced to take over when opposing guards pursue her in switches. After her groin strain in July, she cannot risk a fever with additional work. There's also the impending contract drama. Mitchell allegedly wants the most money as he enters unrestricted free agency. However, should Indiana actually foot the bill? You build around Caitlin Clark and A'ja Boston when they serve as your basis. Sharpshooters, defenders, and selfless role players. Mitchell continues to strive to be the alpha, but that is no longer appropriate. Second place goes to Dyrus Dantas. The plan was apparent when Indiana hired Dyrus Dantas in 2024. To keep the offense open, there should be some floor spacing, toughness in the paint, and rebounding muscle. However, the influence hasn't kept up with the resume here in 2025. She is shooting less than 38% from the field and only scores 5.0 points and 2.4 rebounds a game. For a forward who is meant to finish inside and spread the floor, that is much too low. Her turns move slowly. She has a slow transition defense. And she absolutely vanishes when the chips are down. The key to Clark's game is timing. She needs teammates who are prepared to fire when she drives and breaks the defense. Dantas pauses. Momentum, rhythm, and belongings are all destroyed in that split second of hesitation. It's the same story on the defensive end. Power forwards with the ability to switch, close out, and defend the rim are in high demand in the modern WNBA. Dantas has trouble with each of the three. Quiet communication, late closeouts, and heavy feet create spaces that Clark fills in. In terms of locker room drama, she is hardly toxic. In the passive sense, she is toxic. While younger, more eager players watch from the bench, a veteran holds minutes. First up is Natasha Howard. Now for Natasha Howard, the biggest drain on Caitlin Clark's system. She was the dream signing on paper. Three-time WNBA champion, former All-Star, and demonstrated paint presence. It has actually been a slow-motion disappointment. Howard is averaging 11.66 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 1.4 assists through 2025. At first sight, it seems solid, but then you see the hideous section. She is falling short of 41% of the floor. That is a warning sign for a forward who resides inside the arc. Mistimed putbacks, short shots clanking off iron, and missed bunnies at the rim have all become commonplace. Forwards that can stretch defenses with a dependable jumper or finish hard at the rim are needed in Clark's scheme. Howard isn't doing either. She avoids diving aggressively during pick and rolls, wanders away from the basket, and her touch is all over the place when she does manage to get the ball moving. Because of Howard's unreliability, Clark is under additional pressure to carry the momentum and the scoring, which is a responsibility no point guard should have to bear alone, rather than being the dependable experienced presence that she was brought in to be. The defensive drop-off is obvious. Natasha Howard was once a switch that locked up anyone who stood up for them. Capable of guarding several locations without blinking, quick on rotations, and keen in closeouts. However, that explosion is gone around age 32. She is currently being beaten on the first step. Her revolutions come a beat too late, and her footwork is stiff. When the guards spot her in drop covering, they strike without thinking twice. She is now a defensive target rather than a defensive anchor. And enthusiasm is just as important as skill in this situation. Pay attention to her body language. Shoulders hunched following mistakes, hesitant to return to defense after missed shoots, and little to no response when teammates make a huge play. She is not the involved veteran voice this young Fever squad needs during timeouts. Instead, she is aloof. Contrast that with Caitlin Clark, who never stops applauding her teammates, pointing out inconsistencies, and motivating the squad even when she's injured. That level of urgency must be communicated. It doesn't with Howard. There is a huge expectation difference. Howard wasn't introduced as a character. She was one of the top-paid veterans in Indiana and was supposed to work closely with Aaliyah Boston. Rather, she has turned into a barrier. She sucks away minutes that could be spent developing players like Chloe BBY and Michaela Onyenware, clogs spacing, and slows down the attack. Players who genuinely run the floor, cut hard, and move intentionally. Howard's sluggish decision-making eliminates opportunities for transition. Howard is too far behind Clark, who will press the ball in search of a trailer or cutter. She gives defenses time to recover and eliminates simple scoring opportunities if she does catch the pass and resets rather than attacking. Those half-second delays waste potential in addition to material belongings. At the moment, Howard embodies everything that is flawed in this system. Inconsistent speed, unsteady self-assurance, and output that isn't worthy of the salary. Clark requires a ready shooter when she drives and kicks. She needs trustworthy assistance when she calls for a switch. She needs all of the voices to be heard when the huddle starts. This season, Howard has never offered any of it. For Indiana, this is a watershed moment. The most talked about player in the league is with the Fever. A sizable fan base fueled by rookies and Clark and Boston's ideal pick and roll companion. She gives defenses time to recover and eliminates simple scoring opportunities if she does catch the pass and resets rather than attacking. In addition to wasting resources, those half-second delays also waste potential. At the moment, Howard embodies everything that is flawed in the system. Inconsistent speed, unsteady self-assurance, and output that isn't worthy of the salary. Clark requires a ready shooter when she drives and kicks. She needs trustworthy assistance when she calls for a switch. She needs all of the voices to be heard when the huddle starts. This season, Howard has never offered any of it. For Indiana, this is a watershed moment. The Fever have the most talked about player in the league, a sizable fan following of rookies, and Clark and Boston's ideal pick and roll partner. However, winning is not the same as hype. Making a contender requires calculating choices rather than emotion. Indiana runs the risk of burning through Clark's prime and even losing her completely if they don't remove the dead weight right away. There is no complexity in the formula. Be in the company of players who will safeguard her body, match her tempo, and improve her game intelligence. Talent isn't the only factor. It all comes down to understanding your job, contributing energy, and making sacrifices for the team.